Hello my fiery friends, this is the Infernoman here with a new budget deck tech for you to build. Today we're going to be talking about Dead Winter. This is going to be a Dimir, i.e. blue and black zombie deck. The deck, however, will not be utilizing any rares or mythics, so this is going to be a nice budget build for people that are interested in this archetype without having to spend the wild cards initially. Again, if you do like it, we will always of course talk about upgrades later in the video. But for those that are unaware of how I do this, as always, let's cover this first off. We'll go over the creatures in the deck first, then we'll cover the non-creature spells, the land base if applicable, we'll go over the sideboard, we'll have a couple matches with Sparky to show you basic examples of how this deck is supposed to be played, and again, as I just mentioned, if you do like this style of deck, ways to upgrade into a full, more powerful version. But with that, let's go ahead and let's get started. To begin, we're going to be utilizing 30 creatures in the deck. That's a lot of zombies to go through. And real briefly, it's mostly going to be a lot of beatdown and mid-range style of gameplay. To begin, in the 1-drop slot, we will have our Foulmire Knight, which will provide us with a 1/1 Death Touch creature, great for blocking bigger creatures and punching above its weight, and its adventure ability allows us to draw a card while we do lose 1 life. But that won't be too hard. We're trying to be a little aggressive with this deck. Shambling Geist is also our other 1-drop, only 2 of in the deck. Its ability allows us to either create a treasure token, which is what you'll be mostly doing 9 times out of 10, but sometimes being able to pick off a creature by giving it -1/-1 when the Shambling Geist dies is also sometimes a nice bonus. In the 2-drop slot, we got a lot going on, however. We're going to start by talking about one of our many lords, Blade Stitched Scab, where it allows us to give other zombies +1/+0. Undead Augur is going to be great for helping us draw cards. Again, we do lose life, but we do have a creature in the deck that can help us get that life back. Siege Zombie doesn't seem like it's anything really special, but if we do allow our zombies to sit out, and most often than not you may have stalemates, this allows us to at least utilize our zombies that are just sitting on the battlefield and slowly tapping them to ping our opponent very slowly, like zombies, on flavor of course, to defeat them little by little. Priest of the Haunted Edge and Eternal Taskmaster are actually going to be working in tandem together. We only need 1 copy of each because their combo is, well, janky, still decent if it actually manages to work. Priest of the Haunted Edge, first off, is our 2-mana 0/4 zombie cleric. We sacrifice the Haunted Edge and a target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of snowlands you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Obviously, as you know, there's a reason why we are utilizing snowlands. This is one of our snow payoffs for that. Again, it's only 1, but we only need the 1 because of our other card, Eternal Taskmaster. The Taskmaster is a zombie that allows us to bring back other creatures from the graveyard to our hand. So as you basically have figured out now, with the Priest being able to sack itself, we can pseudo-utilize it as a spot removal card that we can bring back with the Taskmaster and keep repeating this loop. As for the 3-drop slot, we have another Lord in Lord the Accursed, and also allows us to make our zombies gain Menace, which can be great for finishing off our opponent once we have a big enough board state. Liliana's Devotee is not a zombie, but it does create zombies. Zombies you control get +1/+0, similar to the Blade Stitched Scab. And at the beginning of your end step, if a creature dies this turn, you may pay 2, and if you do, get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Just don't forget that, remember, these tokens are not the decayed ones that were just shown from the new Innistrad set. So these ones do stick on the battlefield. Pretty good as an easy way to chump block, and also it's a nice way of trying to keep the board filled and gummed up so that way our opponent cannot get through to us. Our other card is Tomebound Lich. The Tomebound Lich allows us to help loot through our deck by being able to draw a card and discarding a card. At a certain point in the matchup, you might have a board state where it gets a little tricky to get through damage, but with the help of some of our lords that we do utilize, Tomebound Lich becomes very big and very hard to deal with, which hopefully allows us to get a couple of cards into our hand by also dumping out the cards we don't need. And finally, in the 5-drop slot, we will have Narfi Betrayer King. This is actually a really sweet payoff for the whole deck. It gives all of our zombie creatures a +1/+1 bonus, and as well as snow creatures. And also for 3 snow mana, you can return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So what's nice about this is one of our lords that we can guarantee to bring back over and over again. No matter how much your opponent tries to deal with it, it will come back. Granted, yes, this does mean we are going to be weak to graveyard hate in, of course, the style of deck, but we do have a couple options to deal with our opponents in a little bit. So let's now go over the non-creature spells. Now, as for the non-creature spells, we will only be utilizing in the main deck 10 cards. And the reason for this is the majority of our zombies already are going to get big, and we want to just overwhelm our opponent with our undead army. However, of course, if you've seen, much of our deck means we are weak to lots of spot removal and rats. So basically, this is where the non-creature spells come into play. a Light Touch using 2 Blood Chief's Thirst, 3 Malachor Rebirths, which can be great as a tapped land if we need it in a pinch, but mostly we're going to try to utilize it to help survive a Wrath. Village Rise also can help us not necessarily survive a Wrath, but help us gain some cards in case if we know that we're going to lose something. And of course, a single copy of Bastion of Remembrance. Only 1 copy because, again, we want to focus more on the zombies doing their thing, and it's kind of tough to sometimes take a turn off just to put this enchantment out. But if it does get out, you can have a major payoff if our opponent tries to hit us hard with either spot removal or Wrath. And then hopefully we can then drain our opponent out in just a turn. But otherwise, that's going to be it for the non-creature spells. Nothing too crazy here. Again, your focus is to utilize most of your creatures for value, but utilize a light touch of your own support just to help get you through the game. Now, as for the land base, very simple. It is a 20 land package utilizing 3 copies of Snow-Covered Island, 9 Swamps, 4 Ice Tunnel, and 4 Unclaimed Territory. Unclaimed Territory helps us at least fix our mana so we don't have to constantly rely on tap lands, and it's because, again, the majority of our deck is a zombie tribal, so this really shouldn't punish us that much. That's it. Nothing super crazy for the land base, but as always, and I cannot stress this enough, if you do at least have any of the rare lands, even if it's, yes, the tap lands, it still will be a little bit better than what we currently have. But that's all I got for you here. Let's go ahead and now talk about your sideboard. Now, as far as the sideboard is concerned, as always make adjustments based on whatever the current meta is handling. And for now, we're going to have a couple ways to mostly protect what our zombies are trying to do, and at the same time, find a couple ways to punish our opponents if they're trying to get a little greedy. In this instance, 2 copies of Tormod's Crypt as your graveyard hate, 2 extra copies of Bloodchief's Thirst to round out a full package, a full playset of Duress, a Disdainful Stroke to deal with some of the bigger stuff out there, 3 copies of Negate to deal with any Wraths or spot removal, 2 copies of Feed the Swarm to either get rid of an enchantment or get rid of a bigger creature, a single copy of Ill-Gotten Inheritance, usually for the control matchup, and to help you slowly drain your opponent while you're trying to fix out your game plan. But otherwise, that's going to be it for the sideboard. Enough of this, let's go ahead and now face off against Sparky to show you a very basic example of how this deck is supposed to be played. Alright, and here we go everyone. We are now going to be playing our Dead Winter zombie deck. And let's see what we want. So in the opening hand, you hopefully want to have at least 2 to 3 lands because we are going to have a slightly higher curve and you want to make sure you can get your zombies out on time. And in this case, we got 2 siege zombies, so we can slowly drain our opponent out. The Tomebound Lich can actually help us churn out through our deck if we need it. We technically have 3 lands. The Malachor Rebirth, though, is tapped, so we're probably going to have to play our tap lands first. Don't know. I obviously didn't tell you guys early on, but you can obviously tell that this is a slow deck. But depending on your movie preference, zombies tend to be a little on the slow side. Oh, I'm just teasing with you guys. Alright, in any case, let's see. Ice Tunnel? Let's see. How can we do this? We're actually going to hold off on Call Zombie. We're going to hold off a little bit for the Tomebound Lich, only just because we just need a way to block and protect stuff for now. Priest will come out first. Great blocker with his 4 toughness. Opponent's not going to be able to get through that. That's always Sparky doesn't really know any better. So this will at least give us some time. So, Siege Zombie. And pass the turn. If we can get our Taskmaster, the Priest actually can then start looping and doing its fun shenanigans. Alright, opponent is swinging. Do they have a... Sparky might have a pump spell. So let's see. Do they have a pump spell? There it is. I kind of figured. Alright, so we will lose 1 zombie, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. We're not down yet, obviously. We still got time. Let's see. Foulmire Knight will come out. We won't bother drawing a card because we've got the Tomebound Liches, so you can do that instead. And we will now pass. So again, the way this deck works is, you can tell, it is not a very fast deck, so you're going to have to kind of play very slowly and methodically in order to ensure you can get to victory. I'm going to take a little time here. Hopefully you guys are can hang in there a little bit. This time we're not going to block because I fear Sparky might have some kind of pump spells. Now you can activate the ability. Remember, just because you bring in the Siege Zombie doesn't mean you have to wait until it is no longer summoning sickness to do your thing. You can actually do it the turn you bring it down. So we can tap now. Ping for 1. Oh, there's our Taskmaster. This is good. Okay, so you have a couple options here. If you know your opponent's not going to have any pump spells or anything, you can try to bring out the Taskmaster now. If you need to start pumping stuff up and destroying stuff, Lord of the Accursed. And if we need to stabilize These have lifelink with Death Touch. Let's go ahead and go big. Okay. And do we want to swing right now? No, we will not. So this is basically now how Zombies is going to try to get you the win. Again, very slow and steady. That's how you want to do it. This is definitely not an aggressive style zombie deck, but there are options out there if you do want to go aggressive, and we'll show you that a little bit later. Okay. We will block. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Yeah, we'll block the Sanctuary Cat here. Priest blocks the Charmed Stray. And Siege Zombie. Is your last card a pump spell? It is. Okay. That's fine. Sparky still can't get through. So, yeah. Take damage here. Actually, we do not. They gain life, though. We can now tap again. Tap 3. Slow ping. Okay. Sparky's out of cards, so this now gives us an edge. And our edge we're going to have here is Tonebound Lich. We draw a card and discard a card. In this case, we don't need the Village Rites. We don't want to sack any of our zombies. So, no attacks. We're setting up very slowly and methodically here for a win. Don't forget to always tap your zombies here. Any 3 will do. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, another Unclaimed Territory to fix our mana on Zombie. Undead Augur. That's 3/3. Eternal Taskmaster. 3/4. Alright. No attacks. We can't afford to lose anything right now, but we actually have a pretty big board right now, which is really sweet. Alright. Do some tapping. Alright. Narfi is here, but we don't have any... We don't have a way of getting through right now. So you have a couple options. You can actually go Lord of the Accursed right now and give your zombies Menace. So I can actually do that. We can also sack, but we only have 1 Snowland. None of the other ones will do that. So we can get rid of the Charmed Stray, but that really won't help us that much. Let's activate Menace, which now forces Sparky to deal with us. So we can get at least rid of 2 cards this way. Okay. Oh, okay, Sparky. Well, obviously, real opponents are not going to do this, but this works out for us. We'll lose our Tonebound. Well, we do get a card, which we can now put into play. And tap our 3 zombies. Okay. We actually now can do our loop. So I'm going to show you basically how that loop I mentioned earlier with the Priest of the Haunted Edge and the Eternal Taskmaster. So we sack the Priest. We gain a card. We get rid of that. We swing. Pay the 2. And of course it doesn't have to be this card, but you can see right now what I meant with that janky little bonus there. Alright, and bring in another Lord. Alright, now we can finish off Sparky here. So basically, you were able to see right there, that's how the loop is done. You can now see, this is just how you do it. Again, this deck is very slow. But if you take your time, you might be able to pull off a win here. And there you have it. Dead Winter. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to show you one more way to play this, utilizing some of our sideboard cards that we talked about earlier. Okay, so our second match here, where we're going to try to utilize more of our sideboard cards to help us get through this. And as you can see right here, we have our 2 Duress, so hopefully we can get rid of something out of Sparky's hand and ensure that our creatures will not get disrupted. So we're going to keep this. Hopefully we can get that 3rd land, so then these Lord of the Accursed will be great. Ooh, we also got a Bloodchief's Thirst. Nice. Alright, so Duress, what do you got? What can we throw away? Okay. Throw away the pacifism. That would hurt us. And then we can also use our 2nd Duress to get rid of the tactical advantage. So we'll do that. Passion Orator. Geist. Duress. Get rid of the tactical advantage. Okay. Cool. So now we're in a better spot. That Fencing Ace is going to be a problem. So we'll want to make sure we can deal with that. We can let our gas die. I'd like to get a treasure, but we need to make sure that we can keep the board clean. So hopefully we can get to a 3rd land. These Lord of the Accursed will be solid. 2nd and Passion Orator. Okay. It's a tap land, which is not ideal, but that's fine. We can deal with it. It's okay. We're going to be fine. We're gonna be fine, everybody. Alright, fencing ace. They get some life back. They swing, of course. Okay, Felmire Knight's not bad, but we want to take advantage of its draw and its death touch. So, Blood Chief's Thirst on the fencing ace, so the double strike does not something we have to deal with. I pass. We're still in decent shape. We still got a ways to go. I'm gonna remind you guys again. Ooh, we got a Sarah Angel. All right, well, that speeds up the clock. Yeah, about that. All right, draw. So we got a Lord. Hellmire Knight comes in. All right, we actually need our removal now, because otherwise the Angel's gonna really hurt us. Okay, they swing. The Angel takes us down to 11. Unclaimed territory. Well, on zombie, and then we put down 2 Lords. 2. I'm gonna go swinging with Felmire Knight to get some damage. They're down to 19. Oh, we might have to go. It's gonna be a race now. 3. This is a race. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. This is a serious race. Down to 11. Well, talk about cutting it close here. Alright, Sarah Angel. But this is now where Lord of the Curse's Menace ability comes into play. So, turn that on. Bring in our last Lord of the Cursed. And we go swinging for the win. They can't block, and we get there. So there you go. That's another way, utilizing some of our zombies' special abilities, getting our duress to pick our opponent's hand clean of anything that might disrupt our game plan. But there you go. Let's talk about some of the upgrades. If you're looking for upgrades for this deck, here's a couple of options for you that I would highly recommend that will ensure that you can make this deck a lot more fearsome and terrifying versus your opponents. In your 1-drop, you can then have full places of Champion of the Perished and Crypt Breaker. Both of these have really great utility to them. Champion of the Perished will go tall and will become a major threat if your opponent doesn't deal with it, or the Crypt Breaker helps you go wide and helps you churn through your deck at the cost of some life, if you're starting to just throw out your whole hand onto the battlefield. In the 2-drop slot, we also have some more cards from Midnight Hunt, Jadar, Ghoul-Caller, and Thalia, and the Tainted Adversary. These again are more if you want to just go wide with zombies. Granted, these zombies from Jadar will be decayed, so just remember that after you attack with them, they will be sacrificed. However, if you time it right with Village Rites, this is actually a sweet combo to get maximum use out of your zombies. Tainted Adversary, on the other hand, helps you rebuild an army if you need to, and it's a great way to bring in something after a wrath has been brought upon you. In a 3-drop, you have a lot of options here, and you actually want to just pick something based upon what you really want your deck to be about. If you're worried more about creature removal, Murderous Rider is also a fantastic option for you, and it's a catch-all that'll not only get rid of creatures and planeswalkers, but also you can put it down as a life linger that'll also be really great to get you back that life that you lose from being super aggro with this deck. Another strong lord you have is Death Baron, which gives all of your zombies, and skeletons if you do want to use skeletons, gives you +1/+1 and Death Touch, which makes it extremely difficult for your opponent to fight through. Rotting Regisaur is what I would recommend if you want to go extreme aggro plan. Granted, you will be losing cards every turn, but a 7/6 for 3 mana is nothing to be scoffing at. Liliana's Stranded Bearer is also going to be something that will help you rebuild the board if you are trying to survive a Wrath. This is again mostly for control matchups. I would recommend to put this at least 1 or 2 copies in the sideboard. Acerak the Archlich is something that's a little on the spicy side. If you like to play with dungeon mechanics, then this is something you can put. I would again recommend only 1 copy just so you can constantly loop its dungeon ability. Akadem's Awakening is great for more redundancy when it comes to bringing your zombies back from the battlefield. Just remember that again, you want to be aware of Graveyard Hate that's running around very rampantly in the current format. Only 1 card I would recommend in the 4-drop slot, which is even the Dracolich. This zombie dragon is also sweet because 1, it has flash, and also it's a flyer, which is something that you kind of saw in our example battles we had a little bit of a weakness to. So this is going to be something that can cover that. And again, just like some of the other more powerful zombies, it has a way of bringing itself back, which makes it very hard for your opponent to deal with unless they exile it. As for the 5-drop slot, you can choose either Ghoul-Caller Gisa or the Scarab God. If I were to pick personally, I would say the Scarab God is a little bit more practical, but if you want to go for flavor, Gisa is not actually a bad option. Again, Gisa is great if it helps you sacrifice some of your decayed zombie tokens to create more permanent zombies. And for the Scarab God will allow you to slowly drain out your opponent, and also it really helps dodge removal, just like similar to the Drago Lich. It allows you to keep bringing it back, which makes it very hard for your opponent to deal with. Not to mention, it's also pseudo graveyard haste. And finally, only one card I would recommend in the 6-drop slot, this version of Liliana, the Dreadhorde General version. Yes, there are other Lilianas you could choose to have, but this one on the top end gives you a lot of value if you are going for the long grindy match. Again, you can consider putting this into the sideboard to bring in versus the control matchups out there. Churning out zombies, sacrificing what you need to draw more cards for value, and again, if you can get to the ultimate, just helps you wipe the board clean and ensuring that you can get to victory. But otherwise, that's all I recommend for you for the upgrades. Now, are there other options out there? Yes, there are some options, but again, it really just depends on what style of deck you want to play. And me personally, these are the ones I would highly recommend using your wildcards on first. And there you have it, everyone, the Dead Winter. So there you have it, a nice budget option for players out there who want to play in Historic but don't want to spend the wildcards immediately. As always, you tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you a fan of the zombie tribe? Do you enjoy having a type of creature package that just forcefully can just keep coming back no matter how many times your opponent tries to fight you? Do you just enjoy also being more of a aggro player with creatures that are super high in utility? Let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear from you guys. But aside from that, thanks again for watching, everyone. Please be sure to give a like on the video, subscribe to the channel to see all of my deck techs, commentary, pack openings, and more. And just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!